Finally, this week also saw the visit of the foreign ministers of the Alliance of Sahel States, their visit to Moscow. And they had a conversation with the foreign minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov. And their conversation bordered around a lot of things. The relation, how Russia has been a friend of Africa, and how Russia has supported the AES states, how Russia is how they can integrate strongly together. They spoke about politics. Russia said they are going to support AES states and their political integration. They spoke about military. They also spoke about economics. Everything. In fact, one of the things that the foreign minister of Mali said, Ukraine is a state sponsor of terrorism, because last year, as we discussed it on the show, last year, I think, was it not the foreign minister of Ukraine? Something like that, but they admitted to one of the officials in Ukraine admitted to supporting the terrorist group in the Sahel region. In fact, there was this very deadly attack that the terrorists did in Mali that killed a lot of civilians, killed a lot of Malian soldiers, and also killed some Russians that were working with the military in Mali, working with them to fight terrorism. So when that thing happened, Ukraine came out and said they are responsible for it. They gave them intelligence. A lot of things. Ukraine said they were supporting the terrorists in Sahel, and we spoke about it on this show. So anyway, the foreign minister of Mali, because of that incident, of course, they cut off diplomatic relations with Russia. But he now said that Ukraine is a state sponsor of terrorism. All of these conversations they had, I thought it was very interesting. But two things that I really want to talk about that came out from this meeting between the AES states and Russia. Two things. Number one is this, I thought it was very interesting when I read the communique. This relationship between the AES and Russia is also in the area of military, yes. But the thing that they said that I found very interesting in military is that they said self-reliant military. Because usually the way this whole military thing works is, whether it's with the United States or Russia or even China, they sell weapons, right? They also train as soldiers, security officials. But how it works is, when situation gets tough, they just usually call them. Like, for example, let's use France now. The way France worked in these countries, they're having issues with terrorism. The French military just come and stay so that they can help you fight terrorists. But that is really questionable, because if you really look at the way things happen, they're not really there to fight the terrorists for. That's not what I want to delve into now. You look at it with the Americans will come, maybe say in Somalia, to help you fight terrorists. You've been seeing, even since Trump came into office, he has had drone bombing campaigns in Somalia, saying they are targeting Al-Shabaab terrorists. So that's the way it is. So bottom line is, the way it works is, we need help, we call you, you help us do it, right? But this particular communique said self-reliant. Self-reliant is the word that caught my attention. So what they're saying is, the Alliance of Sahel States want to be able to deal with the security issues in their countries without having to call the Russians to help them do it. So they are going to, what I'm guessing now is, they are working with Russia now, but the main goal is that in the future they will not need help from Russia. They will not need the Russians to be in the country to help them defeat terrorists. And it's a good thing. This is something I have noticed about these guys in the AES states, that is Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Something that I have noticed is their push for self-reliance. And in this multipolar world, nothing is more important than self-reliance. One of the reasons that Russia was able to withstand all the onslaughts, the economic sanctions, the economic war levied against Russia, one of the reasons that Russia was able to withstand it, and withstand it very well, is that Russia is generally self-reliant. It's self-reliant energy-wise. It's self-reliant food. Many things that Russia needs to run, it's self-reliant in that area. Do you understand? Now, if you look at AES now, let's look at Burkina Faso. Over the past few months, we've been seeing a lot of stories about Burkina Faso agriculture. What are they doing that for? They want to become self-reliant when it comes to food. meaning that they do not want to be importing the things that their country needs, their citizens need to survive. Do you understand? So this push for self-reliance within the military sphere it's more like even a greater announcement of independence for me, because usually when you hear people say, oh, don't do military with America is just training your soldiers, but they're not training your security officials well, don't do it with China, or sorry, don't do it with France, don't do it with the West. They say do it with Russia, with China. But at the end of the day, one of the issues I've had with that is it's still the same process. You need help to defeat terrorists. You call Russia. Russia stays in your country. The Russian military, whether it's Russian military or Wagner, right? They stay in your country for a while, just helping you defeat terrorists. And many times I've said, but at the end of the day, all these things has only left African security officials weaker. Weak. I've said it several times on this show. Africa, we are weak militarily. So all of this, because if you need something, you call them from outside. The outsiders come in and they help you. The outsiders come in and they help you, but the transfer of knowledge is not there. Like real transfer of knowledge is not there. Real transfer of technology is not there. Do you get? So that's the issue I've had with this method of having military, this security and military relationships between African countries and the other parts of the world. But now, this Alliance of Sahel States is making me very happy, because clearly in the communique, it states it very clearly in black and white. Self-reliant military. That therefore, in the near future, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they are working on a future where they can handle their security needs internally without having to call outsiders, not the Americans, not the Chinese, not the French, and not even the Russians. And that is a good thing. And I really hope that what these countries are pushing for, serves as a model to other countries across Africa. That there is nothing more important than self-reliance. Okay, look at Donald Trump announced tariffs. And the whole world, everything is a meltdown mode. Everybody's losing their minds. All the leaders in the world are calling Trump. Everybody said, no, this tariff, no, we can't deal. Why? Because we're too integrated. No, I'm not against being integrated for economic reasons. There's nothing wrong with it. But I don't think we should be so integrated to the point that we cannot even exist without another country. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, when Trump put all the tariffs on the whole, even Nigeria, he put tariffs on all African countries. I think Lesotho got, is it 50%? South Africa got 30-something%, Nigeria got 14%. He put tariffs on everybody, but he didn't put tariff on Russia. Why? When they spoke about it, they said because the United States and Russia, they do not even have any trade to begin with. So all the tariffs that Trump threw on the whole world, that the whole world is in meltdown mode, Russia is not in meltdown mode. Why? Because they do not have bilateral relations, because of the sanctions. That's why I started this segment by saying Russia, to a large extent, not completely, but to a large extent, Russia is self-reliant. And in this multipolar world, that is the most important thing that every African country needs to begin to think about. See, that era, what the World Trade Organization and the World Bank and the IMF, all that era of how they make sure Africa just focuses on imports, that era is gone. Donald Trump just killed globalization with his tariffs. Just in case you don't know, globalization is dead. Globalization is dead. Donald Trump killed it with his tariffs that he announced on the 2nd of April. He said it's Liberation Day. Okay. But globalization is dead. Right now, every nation needs to find how they can be self. So don't say, okay, America has tariffs, so we are going to push everything on China. No. Let us copy Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger and look for self-reliance in every area. Energy, food, military, technology, everything. Well, because Africa still has a long way to go to catch up with the rest of the world. So we actually need them to teach us. We need to learn. But as we are learning that, let's not be learning that so that we can be dependent on them. No, let's be learning that so that we can stand alone. So we can stand alone. That's the first part of that communique that I wanted to delve into. The second part of the communique that I find very interesting is that this meeting between Russia and the Alliance of the Sahel States is not a one-off thing. No. They said it's going to be often. I'm guessing probably it's going to be an annual thing, right? It's going to be an annual thing because even they said, the communique mentioned that, or was it even Lavrov? But anyway, from that meeting, it was mentioned that Russia and the AES, they're going to speak with the African Union, and the African Union is going to now give them venue for the next one because they want to do it between Africa and Russia. So the first one now is in Russia. The next one is going to be in an African country. After that, probably Russia. But what I'm saying now is now look at how these things may pan out. I'm calling this first. You're hearing this. I've not heard anyone say this. So I'm probably the first person to mention this now in the whole world. But look at how this may pan out. When you're having, should we say conferences or forums, let's use the word forum. When you have forums like this, say, let's just say, okay, the next one is going to be in, say, Mali, right? Mali could now invite some African countries to just participate in the forum. They're not necessarily members of the AES, but they could just participate in the forum and say they invite Ghana. And the foreign minister of Ghana goes to Mali. They invite him South Africa. Or okay, let's use it within West Africa. They invite Senegal. The foreign minister of Senegal says, oh, we're not fighting with Mali. Go. They invite Nigeria. Before you know what's happening, it could be all ECOWAS countries. I just visit. This is me speculating. I'm not saying you could necessarily go like this, but they're just invited for a forum, and all ECOWAS countries and foreign ministers go to this. Maybe not, or maybe like say in the case of maybe Nigeria will be so pro-West because by Tinubu next year Tinubu is still going to be pro-West, right? So Nigeria might not be there, but even if it's only 5 ECOWAS countries or 6 ECOWAS countries, then they come in. And they're part of they're in the meeting, in the forum, they're part of the conversation. During the conversation, they now discuss Russia and the AES states and say, oh, this is the economic thing that we're doing now within the AES, with AES, they maybe we want to build this railway. Then Senegal says, oh, we don't mind, the railway can also pass here. Do you understand? Senegal says, oh, we can be a part of that. No, they are not necessarily part of, now these West African countries are not necessarily part of the AES. They're all still ECOWAS guys. They're not part of the AES, but they've been invited for this forum and they are participating in the forum. And they're also taking advantage of the business opportunities. Maybe Russian businesses are looking for places to set up an industry or a factory. Do you get? They want to set up a factory, a Russian business. Say, let's just use like chocolates. Want to set up a chocolate factory. And then Ghana says, oh, we're a large producer of chocolate. We are in Cote d'Ivoire. We can do it together. Now this Russian, instead of getting chocolate from cocoa pods from somewhere else, maybe Indonesia, they said, fine, let's get it from Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. This is how, before you know what's happening, we're integrating economically. We're integrating economically. Before you say geopolitics, all the ECOWAS countries are participating, and that way, you heard it here first. And that way, this Alliance of Sahel States, it may still be just these 3 countries on paper, but now we have become so integrated within this West Africa, we've become so integrated that it is now performing the task that ECOWAS was supposed to perform. Then ECOWAS becomes more and more irrelevant. This could be the plan. I do not have access to anybody, any government official within the Alliance of the Sahel States, but this could be the plan, and it's going to make a lot of sense. Because if at the core of the Alliance of Sahel States is self-reliance, then we other countries within West Africa will benefit, and even the whole African country at large. The whole African continent at large. Okay, what is when they're having this next meeting between the AES and Russia and other West African countries have been invited? They're talking about self-reliance in military. And these other African countries say, oh yes, we would like to sign up for that military technology. So that everybody wants to be able to depend on themselves. So this is what I'm thinking. This has not gotten any media coverage like I think it's supposed to have gotten. Well, you will not be surprised why it hasn't gotten any media coverage. Donald Trump has ensured that everybody's talking about his tariffs. But this is one of those news stories that just flew by last week. It just happened and everyone is just moving forward. But in fact, this wasn't what I initially wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Somalia offering some of its military base to US. There was even the option to discuss the what's his name, the president of the DRC, where he says Trump should come and work with them in the DRC for Trump to have access to $12 trillion of rare earth minerals from the DRC so that Trump can bring US military to help them deal with this Rwanda-backed M23 rebels. So there were a lot of things to talk about this week, but I said let me talk about this AES and Russia because it seems like they are forming a new world, an alternative to ECOWAS they don't necessarily have to have all these West African countries sign up and say we are joining the AES. It could just be with military, economic cooperation, and business opportunities that are being discussed. They just invite them, they come in, and before it was happening, we are so integrated that ECOWAS is just very, very useless, as it has always been anyway. So let me know what you think about this development between the Alliance of the Sahel States and Moscow. Let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with everybody you love so that we can awaken Africans and the rest of the world to what is going on in Africa. And if you want to support the work that I'm doing here, I'm doing a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of process to produce these videos. And I appreciate those of you who have supported me so far. I have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description and it's also on the screen so you can support this work financially. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode of The Amanda Show. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.